hello once again, DirtFish Rally friends, and welcome to our DirtFish Rally Talk. And once again, a massive thank you to the guys at Forzo who are hosting us in this wonderful studio. It really is a great place to come and talk rallying. Now, if any of you, and I'm sure a lot of you, tuned into our first episode, it's a different man to my right, isn't it? Anthony Peacock. It feels as if we're being reunited after our Sweden sojourn.
It's emotional, Colin. It's very emotional. Glad to be back.
Yeah, and it's really good to be back here with the Forzo guys again, isn't it?
It is indeed. It is indeed. We've got this lovely watch just here.
Yeah, don't forget, if you want a little bit more information, click the link on this wonderful Forzo DirtFish
Enduro timer.
Enduro timer. That sounds awfully posh, doesn't it? Click the link, find out a little bit more about it. So what are we going to talk about today, guys? Well, quite a lot has gone on since we were here last. Number of things happening in the world of rallying. Perhaps the biggest breaking news was Andrew Wheatley being appointed to the head of rallying at the FIA. On top of that, we had the first round of this year's ERC. We've also had at DirtFish, the wonderful DirtFish Women in Motorsport Summit. Announcement coming this way as well. Actually, this morning when I was on my way down here, an announcement from Hyundai about their Rally 2 lineup for the coming season. And to be honest with you, that was a little bit of a surprise to me, that driver lineup. And then obviously, so much reaction to our interview with Pavel in Ukraine during the last program. And we are going to catch up with Pavel and just find out how him and his family are getting on during these terrible, terrible times. But Anthony, first of all, let's discuss the appointment. You know, Yves Maton went very, very rapidly when we had a change of management, if you like, at the FIA, when Mohammed bin Sulayem became the new president. And since then, there's been a lot of discussion as to who perhaps would be a suitable replacement. Andrew Wheatley, a surprise or not a surprise?
Well, I thought it would be you, Colin. So, in that respect...
or we'd have to have some seismic changes in the world for that to ever be considered.
So in that respect, it's a surprise, because obviously I thought it was going to be you. But no, Andrew, if you look at what Andrew has achieved, I think he ticks every single box. He's someone who we've known for many years. He had a very successful career at M Sport before moving on to the FIA. And of course, back in the day, he was a competitor himself as well, so he knows exactly how it works.
Well, not just back in the day, he still competes.
Sorry, Andrew, he did indeed, yes.
And what I like about Andrew, and there's a lot I like about Andrew, and as you say, he very much comes from the ground up in rallying. You know, he's done his apprenticeship, hasn't he, in terms of his time in rallying. He's worked very, very hard at M Sport, but, you know, we used to see Mr. Maton out and about in a World Rally car quite often in Belgium. Andrew's had this little Puma for a very long time, and he works on it himself, he prepares it himself, he drives it himself, and you know, he drives it with some degree of skill, I'd have to say. He's a proper rally man, a very different character, perhaps, to the previous incumbent. He's got a big job to do, that is for sure.
He's got a big job to do, but he is no stranger to big challenges. Don't forget all the responsibility he had at M Sport.
Yeah.
He's someone who basically knows the sport, I think, pretty much inside and outs, from grassroots level all the way up to World Championship level. And if you think about it, there are very few people who encompass that skill set. So I think what he brings is a very measured, experienced perspective, one that can see the point of view of the competitor and of the organiser and of the team. So he's really covers every
You've missed out the most important element there. The most important, I believe, of Wheatley's makeup. It's the manufacturer. It's the manufacturer involvement. It's the understanding of manufacturer needs. It's the understanding of finding models that work in rallying for manufacturers. And I think, don't forget, folks, you know, we might only have a 3-year homologation on this current hybrid. Ford announced yesterday that by 2024, their Pumas will all be electric.
I know.
You know, so we're once again... Fast-moving times. We're behind the game once again. The most important job that I think Andrew Wheatley has, this is why I think he is the best placed person to do it, is to engage once again the manufacturers in what they need from rallying. There was an imbalance developed over the years at the FIA. You know, the FIA, for me, you know, do a great job. They do a great job administering our sport and defining our sport. But, you know, the most important thing, in my view, is that we have manufacturers in the sport. And there was an imbalance that came around there where, if you like, the FIA's importance was greater than that of the manufacturers. That, I think, is one of Mr. Ben Sulayem's main objectives, is to redress that imbalance. And Andrew Wheatley, in terms of rallying, has to be absolutely on top of that. And with his background, I'm certain he will be.
Yeah, I mean, we're going through, you mentioned the appointment of Mohammed bin Sulayem to FIA president. We're going through a period of pretty seismic change, aren't we? So,
yeah.
You know, in terms of governance, in terms of technical regulations, in terms of what the future will look like. Because, as you say, technology seems to be evolving now at a faster rate than it's ever done. We've got a new car which, you know, will be obsolete in a few years' time. So,
well, I think a lot of people argued it was obsolete before it even came in at the start of the year, but that's another argument.
It's another argument for another day.
Yeah.
But it does mean that you need someone with a level head and with a balanced perspective, and someone, as you say, Colin, who's got experience of understanding what manufacturers want, persuading them that rallying is the sport for them, because that was the mainstay of his job, really, at M Sport. So yeah, absolutely crucial appointment at a crucial time.
Crucial time. You know, he's very different. We talked a lot on DirtFish about Andrea Adamo and potentially Adamo's suitability for that job. Very, very different characters. You know, Wheatley is a quiet man that goes about the business with very little external distractions and just gets on with it. I think Adamo would have been... he'd have done the job in a very different way. I wouldn't say one or other is better, but I've got absolutely every confidence that Andrew right now is 100% the right guy for that job.
Completely. I mean, if you look at his predecessor, Yves Maton, as you said, Colin, a completely different person as well. There are more than one ways to skin a cat. Now, obviously, no cats were harmed in the making of this film, but...
To skin a World Rally car.
To skin a World Rally car.
There we go. So that's very interesting. We wish Andrew all the very best. He has been a good friend of ours over the years, always very approachable, always very knowledgeable, and always very welcoming in terms of, taking on questions from us in the past. So very best of luck to Andrew. You have a massive job in front of you, and I'm absolutely certain that you can accomplish that. Now, second thing we wanted to talk about, and do you know what? When we got here this morning, I was a little bit late. It's the Cheltenham Festival this week, which is a horse racing festival. There's so much traffic on the roads, it was ridiculous. But as I pulled into the car park, Anthony opened the door of my car for me. He'd been very keen, very, very keen to get involved and to crack ahead this morning.
That was my previous experience as a hotel doorman.
He did it very, very well.
I've lost the technique, but it's coming back.
But he did also tell me he'd been doing some homework. Now, Anthony Peacock, for those of you who don't know, is one of the most respected journalists in the world of rallying. He's been around for very many years. His work is his homework. So for him to actually go and do some extra work is quite something. And that homework was on the first round of the ERC. So tell me what you made of it. It's a brand new era for the ERC. The WRC promoter has taken over. We have effectively the all-live production, which we've all enjoyed so much in WRC for the past 3 years, I think. They've basically just copied it into ERC. Did it work?
I think it did. I think anyone who's used to watching all live would have found a very familiar product in Fafe. They would have also actually found some very familiar stages, because on Sunday, in fact, the large part of the rally route was what we'll see on the Rally de Portugal, which is why a number of crews were actually competing on this event to get some practice in for the forthcoming Portugal round of the World Rally Championship. And that's actually, I think, very much part of the ERC philosophy. I think with WRC promoter coming in, it's more and more of a stepping stone to the WRC. So the fact that, the two championships are becoming more closely aligned in their promotion and their TV coverage is a natural step towards that.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I have to say I followed it with the wonderful coverage that we had on DirtFish. I have not an issue, but I have a concern.
Tell me your concerns. Tell me your concerns.
You know, it's behind the paywall quite clearly, and rightly so. You know, these things cost a lot of money to produce. But I do wonder how many people have the time. You know, what I would rather do, pay a little bit less and get more personalised highlights. You know, I Friday, Saturday had no time whatsoever to watch any rallying, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that as a rally fan. I think they've taken what they think is the right route, and they've added it to their stable of offerings behind WRC All Live, WRC Plus. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure it is absolutely the right way forward. I certainly would have liked to have spent more time watching it, couldn't.
Look, That's a valid concern, but don't forget, it is the first round. They've
Oh,
taken a tried
yeah.
and trusted product, which is WRC All Live. They've dropped the ERC format into it, and
WRC,
time will tell
I
if
agree.
that fits, that template. For now, they're going with what they know works on the WRC. It's obviously a sort of big commitment to watch every stage on every rally, but, you know, there will be some people who want to do that.
Yeah, I guess there must be. Yeah.
Don't forget, we're looking at it from the fans' point of view, but from the driver's point of view, how powerful it is to say to your sponsor, look, I am on All Live for this amount of time.
Well,
you can
that
watch
is true.
me.
Yeah,
So
that's true. But
it's
only if they know
it's
how
not-
many people are watching it.
It's not just all about us, Colin. It's not just
No,
all about us.
I see, I get this. And this is the very difficult thing. And this is the very difficult thing when you get engaged on, say, Twitter, for example. We are not the audience. We are not the target audience. Rally fans who are already engaged are not the target audience. Target audience have to be younger people, potentially who are sports fans, hopefully motorsports fans, who are open to new experiences. These are the people we have to be reaching with our sports, whether it's WRC, whether it's ERC. Difficult to do right now. Difficult to do, because it's difficult to persuade someone who is discovering where their passions lie in life as a 17, 18, 19-year-old. Difficult to persuade them to spend €100 a year on something they're not convinced about yet. For me, the challenge, and you're so right, it's the first one. I am not criticising, I'm really not, because there's a great team behind the ERC, but I'd like to see a bit more innovation going forward. That's what I'm hoping for, and I'm sure it'll come. But the challenge for me is, how do we take the sport, WRC, ERC, British Rally Championship, how do we take it into the pockets of a younger audience? And I don't see an awful lot being done to address that.
It's really hard, isn't it? Because I think, as the lines in our faces will attest, we grew up watching the sport in an era before internet coverage. So what got me hooked on the sport? Well, it was actually a little bit of TV in the 1980s with William Woolard and Top Gear Rally Report.
Oh, fantastic. They were fantastic.
They were great days.
Yeah.
But I think what got me hooked, and I don't know about you, was actually the experience of going out to see it. And it was probably those sort of TV programs that made me pester my dad to go and see, oh, can we go and see this? And, it worked. So you're right. So I guess what got me hooked back in the 80s was a highlight show fronted by a man in a trench coat.
Yeah. Anyway, there are challenges ahead. I think it was a really decent start for the team at the ERC. There are challenges ahead, and it'll be interesting just to see what we get as the season develops. You know, I'd like to see a few characters. I think we may struggle a little bit to get consistent driver lineups. I think, like FAF, we'll see drivers, decent drivers, dipping in, dipping out, rallies that suit them, rallies that maybe suit their schedules, give them a flavour for tarmac or a flavour for, as you say, FAF. Dipping in, dipping out makes it difficult then to get continuity going forward. But there are challenges. There are big challenges ahead for the guys at ERC, and I wish them the very best. It was a very decent start. Well done, guys. Now, talking about ERC clearly is Rally 2 cars.
It is.
We've had an announcement this morning.
We have.
To do with Rally 2 cars. But not in ERC, it's in WRC. WRC2 Hyundai have announced their lineup for this year, Anthony. One part of that lineup was reasonably predictable. The other part was a bit of a surprise.
Well, I must confess, I didn't know much about the career of Fabrizio Zaldivar.
Fabrizio Zaldivar, well done, Anthony.
We've
well
been getting
done.
up to this.
Young Paraguayan driver. Now, I knew a little bit about him when I read a bit about him, because it then started the old clogs moving and worrying in the brain. Carlos Del Barrio. I remember talking to Carlos 12 months ago, saying he was getting involved with this very exciting young Paraguayan driver, and they did 5 or 6 rounds in WRC, 3 last year. They did a couple of championships in South America in an R5 car. Interesting. It's an interesting choice, but for me, what it is, it's an indication of, I think, the growing importance of the South American market to all of our manufacturers. You know, the South American championships are getting stronger and stronger. We've got some great drivers there.
Absolutely. I mean, there have been many South American drivers around for a long while, starting off with the great Jorge Recalde. There were drivers even before him, obviously, but he was maybe the person who was first on the international map from that part of the world. Recently, we've had Bolasia, we've had
Perez Compangs,
Perez
obviously,
Compangs,
a while back.
of course, a while back.
Coyote, who was the Coyote again? What was his name?
Federico Viagra.
That's the one. Yeah.
Coyote.
He was always lots of fun.
He was lots of
and
fun.
obviously we had the in the great days of Group N, we had the Cordoba Rally team, Marcos Legato and
Gustavo
others.
Trellis.
Yes.
All the names are flooding back. But as you say, that was then, this is now. And there has been this recent influx of South American drivers. And I wonder if, I don't know, there's always been a strong national scene. Has the Dakar coming to South America maybe raised awareness of off-road racing, rallying? I'm not really sure, but great to see this new addition from Hyundai. And I've got to say, it is fantastic to see a driver who, you may not have heard of particularly much, suddenly get this opportunity of international prominence, and let's see what he does. Hopefully it's going to be a big surprise in a very positive way.
Yeah, if he can go out there and get some results, he's talking about consistency this year. He's done some of the rallies, by no means all of them. If he can get some results and can show something special, he does propel himself right up there, doesn't he, in terms of, in terms of prominence with the younger drivers who are all looking for potentially a manufacturer deal or a manufacturer link. I like the way things are moving in South America just now. It's so important that the World Championship gets back there. I did see some pictures of a wonderful setup in South America. I can't remember the name of the preparation company, but it just reminded me of M Sport, that beautiful big main building at M Sport, beautifully laid out. I think there were 7 or 8 R5 cars in this picture. I was like, that's serious commitment to rallying. And we all know rallying is an expensive sport. And what there appears to be in South American rallying, and it's a bit crude to talk about it, but there appears to be money. And it's important. It's important for the health of any championship that there's money around.
I remember if you go up to M Sport, they have a big map of the world. I don't know if you've seen it on the world. And there's a little dot with the countries where they sell cars. And have you seen that map?
Yes, I have.
It's a good one. If you look in South America, there's a massive concentration of dots, and it's really, really surprising. It's a interesting little, obviously M Sport's customer team, they use it to sort of just track where they're selling their cars, but it's an excellent little snapshot of where is hot in terms of rallying, and South America is definitely one of those
Seems to be
places.
very hot just now. So, Timo Sunonen obviously started last year with M Sport. He then, was he sacked? Is that a little bit harsh to say he was sacked? I don't know. I think it's reasonable to say he parted company. Let's say that. He had a difficult time. I've always liked Timo Sunonen. I like him as a person, and I've always liked him as a driver. There is something missing with Sunonen, and we've seen glimpses of it. He can find it, unfortunately, only in very short spells, and then he is world class. He is world class, but his problem is maintaining that consistency. He's not too old to make that step back up again. We've seen it in the past. We saw it with Tanak. He had to take a step back. We saw it with Elvin Evans taking a step back to the British Rally Championship. I think this is a good move for Timo Sunonen. I think getting away from somewhere where he didn't feel perhaps he was getting the support he needed and going to somewhere again where people are putting their arms around him, perhaps a good move for him.
Yeah, as you say, Colin, there's been many drivers who have taken that step back in the past. All the people you mentioned, Chris Meek as well.
Chris Meek, of course, yeah.
So let's see what happens. Timo, like all Finns, he's slightly hard to read as a character. Right. So it's sort of like you're not quite sure what the best approach for him would be as a driver. Is he someone who a team needs to put their arms around, shout at him, leave him alone? I'm not quite sure what it takes to get the best out of Timo Sunonen. But let's see.
I think with Timo needs to find what that missing element is himself. I don't think anyone's going to find it for him. I don't think anyone's going to put their arm around him. Anyone's going to give him a wee slap across the head. I think Timo needs to find it himself. And when he does, right back up there, no doubt at all. So exciting times ahead for WRC2 this year. Have to say, I think they've got a very big job to do at Hyundai. I think M Sport have a very big job to do because, as it has been for the last few years, the Skoda just looks so strong. And on top of that, we've got a new one coming out later on this year. It's so difficult for Hyundai and for M Sport and for Citroën. The Citroën has come on really nicely over the last 2 or 3 years. Mads Osberg has spent a lot of time developing that car. But it's ultra competitive, isn't it, Ante? It's so important for the manufacturers, that customer market, ultra competitive.
I remember once talking a long time ago now with Malcolm Wilson, and I remember we were saying that it seems to be more hard to build an R5 car than it is a WRC car, and he said that's probably true.
Right.
And you know, that's why, you know, M Sport in particular sort of like put such great attachment to getting an early start on these things. But yeah, look at some of the struggles that Citroën had. It's only now that their R5 C3 is really beginning to work.
Well, and you know, you talk about M Sport. M Sport, when they budgeted for the Fiesta R5 initially, you know, they were, as you say, first to market with it. I think they budgeted for something like 40 cars. I think 32 or something was break even, 40 was a decent profit. They're up to something like 300, 400 now. The problem has been, as the evolutions have come with that car, you know, keeping it competitive, keeping it reliable, and that's been the biggest issue, I think, with M Sport.
Absolutely. I mean,
And the others catching up.
Yeah, and as you say, there are also new cars coming out all the time. So I think as a manufacturer of R5 cars, you've got to sort of constantly reinvent yourself, really, to come up with something better, but reinvent yourself within very tight constraints. So that's the challenge. It's easier to come up with a clean sheet design, but then you've got to go through the growing pains. So it's a really delicate balance, and that's why the championship's so tight.
And you know what? This is an observation, purely an observation, but you look at customers and the way that customers are loyal to manufacturers with their Rally 2 machinery. And I think, you know, at times, because remember, a lot of customers who are buying these cars are not looking to win rallies. You know, they're looking to go out and be competitive in their class and to put on a good show. And what they look for, as well as competitiveness, as well as, you know, performance from the cars, they look for service. And M Sport, there is no question, have developed this incredible service model that absolutely embraces their customers. And once Malcolm's got hold of a customer, you know, he just keeps that customer close, doesn't he? And you know, that is a lot, really important in terms of the model going forward, the Rally 2 model, that perhaps that's where Malcolm has his advantage.
It is. I think that's what all the teams try to do. Now, I just remembered one thing, Colin, that you mentioned. I did my homework about Cafe, and obviously ERC Rally, R5 cars, Neil Solon's
Rally 2 cars. We've got to call them Rally 2 cars
sorry.
now.
So
I am the same. I am the same. But you know, it's difficult.
I'll probably be talking in sort of pre-decimal currency next. But anyway, Rally 2 cars. The Rally 2 car with which Neil Solon's won, it was a Volkswagen Polo in Fafe, was actually one of the early Rally 2 Polos.
Is that right?
It was one of the very early cars.
And that wasn't considered to be a particularly good Polo, surprisingly, was it?
It wasn't. I mean, I think in Fafe the conditions were so wet and tricky that really road position was largely a dominant factor. But it does go to show that under the right circumstances, maybe you don't even need the latest evolution. If you've got a decent package, you can go all the way with it.
Yeah, no, Solon's did a great job. Don't forget, Solon's was, I think, a class above anyone else in that field at the weekend. Maybe a class and a half above anyone else. Solon's, with that outing in the World Rally Car last year in Spain, he'd won the Junior Championship previously. Solon's, for me, is one of those drivers that's right on the cusp. Right on the cusp. If he gets a bit of budget, proves himself perhaps in ERC, perhaps more pertinently in WRC2 this year, he will give himself a chance going forward. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he did very well. Like I said, I think Solon's in Portugal, the key was that he ran first on the road.
First on the road.
And he didn't actually choose first on the road because he wasn't quickest in the qualifying stage. But the opportunity to run first on the road came because whoever was quickest didn't choose it. And he
looked at the weather forecast and thought, here's a gamble.
So,
wow.
As you say, he was a class above, but that all comes with the experience, doesn't it? It's the experience of knowing things like that and knowing to make the most of your experience.
And who did he have next to him in the co-driver's seat?
I didn't do my homework that well.
I think it was Mark Marty.
Was it?
And if you talk about experience...
I think it was actually, you're right.
If you talk about experience, I mean, you know, this is the other thing that astonishes me sometimes. As a driver, you cannot buy experience. You have to get the seat time, get in the car, you have to learn your craft. What you can do is buy experience in the seat next to you.
Absolutely. Yes, it was.
And I don't think, and we're seeing that with young, what's his name, Zaldivar. You know, he's got Carlos Del Barrio next to him now. They're generations apart, 2 generations apart. But Zaldivar understands he's got limited European experience I'm going to bring in that co-driver's seat, that co-driver's seat.
There's a huge
Which one is it? It's that side, is it? It's that side, co-driver's seat.
That one.
I'm going to bring in someone.
I'm your co-driver.
You are my co-driver. Yeah. I'm driving. He's co-driving.
Yes, we're
It's a
bound
scary
to crash.
thought. Scary thoughts.
No, there's a huge tradition of that. I mean, remember when Peter Solberg made his debut in a Ford Focus? Who did he have alongside him? Fred Gallagher.
Wow, I'd forgotten that. Yeah,
So, you know,
yeah. It was never going to be a long-term thing, but it absolutely served the purpose at the time.
Absolutely.
There we go. So yeah, WRC2. Not WRC2. Yeah, WRC2. That is what we're talking about. Bit of ERC, bit of WRC2. It's going to be interesting. We wish the boys, obviously at Hyundai, all the very best going forwards. So Anthony, March has been a really important month for DirtFish. The Women in Motorsport initiative, we're more than halfway through now. There's been some great stuff. There's been some great stuff on the website, and there was obviously the Women in Motorsport Summit in America just last week. It really has been quite uplifting to read some of the stories, to watch the videos, and to see the success of that summit.
Yeah, look, I know lots of people who've been inspired by some of the things that have gone out, not just the conference, the summit, but also many of the stories that have been published on dirtfish.com. So fantastic that, you know, there are so many role models out there.
It's been nice to just read something different, and something that perhaps educates you. And it has educated me. A lot of the stories, the last from Pirelli.
Marta,
yeah, what a wonderful story.
Yeah, I know Marta very well. She's someone who comes from, she came from a background of working for Porsche and ended up looking after all aspects of motorsport in Pirelli on the marketing side, from Formula One to Rally to GT. And how did she do it? Because she's someone who really, really follows her dreams and her passions and believes she can. And,
wonderful. And that all came out wonderfully in the story. Listen, Women in Motorsport Month, very much driven by one of our employees at DirtFish in Seattle, Josie Rimmer. She has done a wonderful job, and the culmination of Women in Motorsport was that summit that I talked about. Let's hear from Josie as she tells us all about that wonderful day.
So Josie, what a day yesterday was.
Yeah, it was absolutely 20 times better than I ever could have imagined.
Only 20.
Oh, 100 times better than I could have
After all the effort that we put in, only 20 times better. That's really
No, it was absolutely shocking how many people showed up, and everyone that was here wanted nothing else. They wanted to be here with us. Yeah. We had young kids milling about. We had every age, every person, people traveled to be here. They've driven, they've flown. So it was just, the turnout was so much more than I could have imagined.
And not just from here, from all over the world, virtually. We had Emma Gilmore. We were talking about Thursday. It was Friday for her.
Yes.
Wasn't it? I mean, that was incredible as well, just to bring in so many people from everywhere.
Yeah, Emma woke up and hopped on Zoom and joined us for, like 3 hours for the lunch with the pros and for the panel. It was amazing. Every time I looked up at the screen, I was keeping an eye on how many people were signed on to the Zoom, and it just kept going up and up and up. So that was so exciting.
I mean, you've planned this. Tell us, the inspiration for this, all the way back towards the end of last year when we jumped on the call and you had this idea. What sparked the idea?
As a young woman around motorsport for my whole life, I felt like I didn't see any of them. I knew obviously Michel Mouton, Fabrizio Pons, but I didn't know many from now, aside from the people that I was lucky enough to be surrounded by here at DirtFish. And so that's what I wanted to change during that process, was writing about women in motorsport so that young girls, that are trying to get into the sport can see that representation. But yeah, people kept coming up to me at the summit and they were like, isn't it nice that we get a whole month? And I'm thinking, but we could have more than a month. You know what I mean? Like, women deserve to be represented in whatever sport, whatever job they're doing, in all realms, all the time. So I think the month is a perfect way to start this. But we plan to continue, promoting new women getting into the sport consistently. We're not just going to be done after March is over. I feel like I've been living in some alternate reality this whole time. Like, we're emailing with Michel Mouton, and she's not just tolerating us. Like, she's excited about this too, and this is what she's been working for, with the FIA through the probably the 10 boards that she sits on, I've been a little bit starstruck this whole time, but at the core of it is the fact that we all have the same goal, and the vision that Michelle has always had is one that has not yet been reached in its full potential. And so that's the point. We're stronger when we work together, and Michelle didn't even have to be here physically to help us have the broadest reach possible.
Yeah. Naomi, we have got one of
Yes.
Naomi, come on in. Come and talk to us.
Hi.
Naomi was with us yesterday for the summit and has taken one of the all-female classes today. Tell us, why did you come? Why did you get involved?
Oh my goodness, how can you not get involved? It is so much fun. Just driving in general, and then getting to get inspired by all these amazing women. Yesterday was such an inspirational day, and thank you so much for putting that together. That was fabulous. And then to also follow it up, and this is the best 2 days ever. I followed it up with a one day with all women. It was amazing out there. I had some really great aha moments, got really fast out there, and a little slippy sliding. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm already looking forward to the next one.
But I mean, you walk into that room yesterday, and you
Yeah.
know, to be confronted by Sarah Price,
Oh,
Emma
goodness,
Gilmore,
yeah.
you know, these are legends. Ree's there, and you know, it was pretty incredible, wasn't it?
It was a little unbelievable. And then suddenly all of the nerves just went away because they're just really good people, just like us,
Yeah.
and have done amazing things in their career. And it was just a wonderment to be a part of it all.
Yeah, once again, Josie, what a wonderful job that you have done. Fingers crossed that Women in Motorsport Summit at DirtFish in Seattle becomes an annual thing. I think that's the plan. Well, you could tell it was David there. That's why, Anthony, we've got you as my standing co-driver today. David's been across in the States.
Absolutely, David has been polishing his pace notes in the United States.
Yes.
And I am the standing co-driver for today. Make of that what you will.
David certainly has, and we will have on the next episode. Well, I don't know who we'll have. It might not even be me. It might be David and Anthony. It might be me and Anthony, me and David. We'll have to see. Now listen, Anthony, you were here when we were recording our last episode, and perhaps the piece that provoked the most reaction was the interview that we did with Pavel Sharapan from where he was staying in Kyiv. Desperate times out there, and you know, it really brought it home to a lot of people that, you know, the rally community is involved. People we know, people that we are friends with, people that we've interviewed are there suffering the most atrocious oppression, and it did certainly make a lot of people think.
It certainly did. You know, when you hear what Pavel has to say, it becomes much more than just something you read and hear about on the news. When you hear his personal story, I mean, I think the thing that struck me most was when he said he actually had the option to leave if he wanted to, but he was choosing to stay.
Yeah, a remarkably brave man. A lot of you obviously have been asking how Pavel is. Well, what we did, we caught up with him. Let's hear how Pavel and his family are coping in Kyiv. Pavel, I have to say it is great to see you. We obviously talked to you a couple of weeks ago now, and perhaps that interview we did had the biggest response we've had in a very long time at DirtFish. The first thing I have to ask you, it's great to see you. You're looking tired. How are you? How are your family?
Well, since we met last time, I think that it was quite a unusual interview for you, Colin, and for your team. Well, since we met last time, I made several big travels in Ukraine. My family is in Poland now. My wife with 2 kids and my mother. So I put them on the car close to the border, and came back without a car. Joined my friends who were in that time near Lviv, and we started to make some useful things for our people, for our army, for our civil defense here locally, using all that experience we have. And well, first of all, I would like to say thank you for the support you gave to me. I mean, in the right meaning, in the maximum way, to you personally and to all the motorsports community, especially for guys from Baltic countries, from Poland, for Lithuanian guys with Of course, for Maciek Szczepanik, who invited my family to his house and who is treating them as his own kids. To Maciek Woda from Sport Poland, who in person made several tons of humanitarian aid to Ukrainian people. With Vytautas Švedas from Lithuania, guys from Latvia, guys from Estonia who are writing, keep on writing me, and they not just saying, well, we are with you, stay strong, etc. They help us to bring some pickup trucks for Ukrainian civil defense and Ukrainian army. We put them to exact guys. We are getting now helmets and personal defense stuff like bulletproof vests, scopes with night vision option, etc. So, well, my business a little bit changed now. We're volunteering, we're helping people, and I think this is now what every normal Ukrainian is doing right away, helping, approaching the victory, helping its country, its nation, and I think that this is the right thing we should do. If one can hold on weapon, he should take weapon and shoot. If one can make something more useful for the moment, for those who hold weapon, we should do this. We can take weapon, and if we need, we will do this. But for the moment, the more use we can deliver to our country is like traveling in Ukraine, I mean, and doing some nice logistic things for our guys from militaries.
You know what, Pavel, just taking you back a little bit, can't tell you how relieved a lot of people will be to hear that your family are now safe in Poland. But how difficult was that for you? How difficult was it for you to take them there? Obviously, that was the right thing to do, but then to leave them and to go back into a war zone. How hard was that?
Colin, when we met last time in person, we were driving quite fast. And that is why we were taking part in some motorsport events through the world. So I will give you just some figures. I traveled 260 kilometers from Kiev to Vinnytsia. It's a city in Ukraine. I traveled for 9 hours. 260 kilometers, 9 hours. Next day, I made it from Vinnytsia to Lviv. It is about 300 something kilometers, so it was 13 hours. So this is, well, I like to drive a little bit faster, but the block posts every, I guess, 5-10 kilometers. We have to show passports, to show our cars, etc. So many refugees trying to escape. It was tough, but finally they are safe thanks to God and Maciek Szczepanik.
Yeah,
And my hands now are more free to do something useful here.
Yeah, well, tell me a bit about that then, Pavel. Tell me a bit about daily life where you are. I know you don't want to say exactly where you are, and we completely understand that. But tell me what it's like. Tell me what the food situation's like, what the water situation's like. Obviously the war situation's horrible, but what is it like?
We do not have now something like routine, So daily routine is something we left in 19 days ago. So every day is not like the following. One of the important mission we have is to spread information as much as possible. We are helping foreign filming crews here in Ukraine with making piece of news, with making documentaries, because very important mission is to spread information as much as possible to the world. Well, we do not want, of course, our first dream and our first target is to approach to bring the victory closer. But we should do what we will do next. The next important thing is to make the world sure that this would never happen again. And this is the matter of proper information delivery. So this is what we're doing, and one of the things we're doing.
Do you know what? I have to say that.
So, excuse me. Yeah, and
Yeah,
in general, the situation is very bad because Russians changed their tactics. That they do not want to capture any government guys in Kiev. They now want to destroy Ukraine. They're destroying cities. They kill civilians. Russian soldiers got orders to just kill civilians. Well, the car with the sign "Kids" on all screens being shot near Kiev in the in the suburbs of Kiev. People who try to evacuate, they're murderers. They're war criminals. They will. This is issues for Hague, and well, unfortunately or luckily. I guess 3, 4, 5 generations of Ukrainians will. I'm not afraid to say this. To say these words. We will hate Russians in generations, in ages, because they are now killing our people. They're now destroying our cities. They're making humanitarian catastrophe in some cities. So they confirm humanitarian corridors and then shoot these humanitarian corridors. Civil people are being shot, are being killed. Kids and disabled people, sanatoriums and kids' hospital are being bombed. They have no missiles with precise targeting now, so they just pull off the aviation bombs which are not controlled. They trying to do the same things which have been done in Aleppo in Syria with Ukrainian staff. Also, 3 days ago, the heavy missile strike was near Lviv. It was 20 kilometers from Poland border, from NATO border. It's 20 kilometers from NATO border. I don't know if you're aware, but 3 like aircraft. 3 aircraft.
Well, if you have to go somewhere or do something, no, don't worry.
3 aircraft were 3 Russian aircraft were shot in Romania, in Poland, in Croatia. So the war is going on NATO territory.
Yeah, and that's why it concerns all of us. It really does. It concerns all of us because you innocent people are suffering, but it concerns all of us because it could be our families that are suffering next. I have to say, Pavel, when we talked to you last time, 19 days now into this dreadful war, I feared for you, and I feared for Ukraine, and I feared for your government and your capital city. But your resistance, your ability to fight for what you believe in has surprised a lot of people that 19 days in and you are still pushing back.
We were sure that we are strong.
Yeah. I don't think we doubted you, but we just didn't think it was possible. And we did have real concerns that you would be overrun and that maybe it would be difficult to speak again.
I guess that we will find opportunity to speak again, and with more and more strength and more belief, because Ukrainians are the nation when first we're afraid, and then it doesn't matter. And if Ukrainians doesn't matter, everybody else will be afraid. Unfortunately, we are forced to do all our combat.
Pavel, is there anything you'd like to say to the motorsport community? Just
Yeah, sure. Thank you for this opportunity, Colin. Thank you. Thanks to your team. I would like to say to the all motorsports community, guys, thank you. We feel your support. We feel even if you just post a Ukrainian flag in Twitter, or if you sign an official petition to close Ukrainian sky, we feel your support. Please keep on doing, and we will keep on all Ukrainian people, and we will keep on supporting Ukrainian army, and Ukrainian army will keep on fighting to save the world. I'm not afraid of these loud wars, but these guys with Ukrainian flags on their form, they're really saving the world now, because World War III is ongoing. The world fighting against Russia. But Russian, Ukrainian army is fighting against Russia, and all the world supports Ukraine. We feel this support. Of course, the support cannot be enough. So the closed sky, NATO closed sky, is the word we wake up early in the morning and sleep at night. If NATO closed the sky, we will finish the war, I think, in 1 week. Because Russian troops, they do not have any chance in field battles. They have chance only in destroying our cities and our people from aircraft. Yeah, so thank you to all motorsport community. Thank to all who supported us and all who will support after hearing this interview or other post. We appreciate it very much, and I believe that one day I will treat you as my guest here in Ukraine on a World Rally Championship event.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I very, very much look forward to that. Pavel, we thank you for your time, and once again, stay as safe as you possibly can, and go with the absolute belief that we're all 100% behind you, and all of our thoughts and prayers are with you. Pavel, thank you for your time. Yeah, thank you, my friend. You know, it's just never easy, is it? It's never easy, Anthony, to have to listen to that.
No, absolutely, very, very affecting
Yes.
words.
Yeah, and we obviously wish Pavel all the very best, and all of the people in Ukraine. Our thoughts and our prayers are very much with you, continuing to be with you during this difficult period. Anthony, that kind of brings things to an end. I very much enjoyed our chat today.
Is it over already?
It is over already. I'm very sorry. Unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about, I think we've covered the major topics of the day, which is what we wanted to do.
Many things I'd like to talk about, but probably not suitable for a family audience.
No. That would be the after dark version.
Actually, there is one thing.
Oh, I tell you what, camera boy, I wish you'd keep quiet.
I feel attention should be drawn
I've got the wrong socks on. No, let's cover the socks up.
I feel attention should be drawn to...
You're finding it difficult to describe the man today, which is unusual.
Yeah, well, sort of look, Elvis Presley sang about blue suede shoes. I've never seen a pair of pink suede shoes before, but they are apparently all the rage in Stoke-on-Trent.
No, they're not. Here's the thing. Anyone that knows me knows that I love a bargain. I am so Scottish, it's unbelievable. And to a Scotsman, a bargain. If it's a bargain, you buy it. Doesn't matter if it doesn't fit you. Doesn't matter, if it's the wrong colour. It doesn't matter if it's a bargain. You've got to buy it. So in Stoke-on-Trent, what I've discovered is I'm a great fan of TK Maxx, and anything that is pink in TK Maxx and Stoke-on-Trent is massively discounted. People from Stoke-on-Trent don't wear pink, apart from me. These were reduced from about £120 to £14. £14, bargain.
I reckon you're still ripped off, Col.
And on that really fine note, perhaps we'll end this one, folks. A very, very big thank you to our friends once again at Forzo for hosting us in this wonderful studio again today. Don't forget, we love to hear your thoughts. There's a comment section below the video on YouTube, at DirtFish Rally on Twitter. We'd love to hear your thoughts there as well. But until the next time, from Anthony Peacock, it's a very big
goodbye.
And from me, it's an even bigger goodbye. We'll see you soon.